Okay. Tesva Varal, 15. Yes. Because the other rabbi feels that he disagrees with the change. The other rabbis are feeling that they have a reason why there shouldn't be a change. That's why, because of our Mishnah. Because our Mishnah stated that if a person enters the Beis Hamikdash when he's Tamei, he gets lashes. And the Gemara said, but this prohibition of entering the Beis Hamikdash when he's Tamei was a mitzvah that happened before the violation. And yet it's subject to lashes. So we see from there that a positive commandment that precedes a violation will get lashes. So that's what's bothering the Gemara. Why should Rabbi Yochanan change his mind when he had our Mishnah? Okay, we are on 5th. Yeah. Okay, so Abraham ben Saltanat, we're going to be learning today, beautiful Shalema. Okay, we are on, that means we should learn even stronger. Do something more. As Rabbi David Feinstein would say, when you do something in honor of someone, what's the key is to do something, go the extra mile. You're doing something more, that creates a greater schut. Because when you just do exactly what you did yesterday, so it's not the same power as when you do something more than you did yesterday. See what I'm saying? It has power, but there's different levels of power. So 15a, we are in article 15a3. We just said yesterday, we're going to start the Gemara, then I want to get back to what we said yesterday, because this first piece of the Gemara is independent of what we said yesterday. It's on the art scroll on the right column, 15a3. Omale Rav Papa Rava. Rav Papa says to Rava. What's Rav Papa's question to Rava? He says, "V'holo damim mishaber." You got it? A3 on the right side. V'holo in the regular Hebrew, it's about 4 lines, 3 lines into the Gemara, and 3 lines into the wide lines. V'holo dami lave. What in Nathan? V'holo dami lave v'lav dechasima. The lav, the prohibition, the violation, is not similar to the prohibition of muzzling the animal. What does the Torah say? Torah says you're not allowed to muzzle an animal. And if you muzzle the animal, the Torah, right near that, is the Torah talks about lashes. So if a person muzzles his animal when he is threshing, of course you let him muzzle the animal when the animal is traveling, like Abraham muzzled his animals to make sure that they would not go pasture in other people's property. And that shows you the honesty of Abraham. That's a lesson for all of us, how we have to do our business and conduct our business to make sure that we don't steal from other people. But when the animal is threshing, you have to remove you can't put on a muzzle when the animal is threshing. The Torah forbids, you have to allow the animal to be able to eat. You can't close the animal's mouth when it's threshing in the field. And that is the poster boy, so to speak, for malkut, for lashes. We learn from that it's a type of item that carries with it an action. Muzzling an animal is something you take a muzzle, you put it on the animal. So too, in order to get lashes, it has to be a type in general, has to be a type of violation that carries with it an action. But if you say something not nice about your friend, you're going to see. Get ready. This is the introduction. But if you speak about your friend without doing an action to your friend, you will not get lashes for saying a not nice comment about your friend. I mean, Moshe Shemer is unique, the case of defaming the wife. But in the regular case, the guy says, you know what, my friend, he doesn't dress well. he doesn't eat neatly. That's a negative comment. There's no lashes. It's a violation of the Torah, right? Right, Nathan? Someone said that it's a violation. He's speaking not the guy's not speaking nice about a fellow Jew. But even though it's a violation of the Torah, it doesn't carry with it lashes. Not all violations carry with it lashes. It has to have an action. And that we learned out from the case of don't muzzle an animal when it's threshed. Okay? That is the given. So now the Gemara's question is that Rabbi Yochanan says that a violation that's preceded by a positive commandment, Torah tells us a commandment, and then it follows with a violation. He says there will be, originally he said there would be lashes for such a violation, because the mitzvah, the positive commandment, is not considered a fix on the violation because it came before the violation. Right? We said there's such a thing when a person does a violation, if the Torah follows a violation with an instruction of a mitzvah, that's the fix and there's no lash. Is that correct? It's called the lav hanitek laseh. First says don't steal, and what does the Torah say if you steal? Pay it back. That's the fix. There's no lash. But Rabbi Yochanan says, but if the violation, it was preceded by a mitzvah, Torah tells us to do a mitzvah, and then it tells us don't do a sin. That mitzvah came independent of that violation. Even though that mitzvah might apply post the violation as well, but since it did not come just to address, it wasn't coming to address the violation. It was coming independent of the violation. There will be lashes for such a violation. Right? Is that clear? A violation that was preceded by a mitzvah, that mitzvah is not considered a fix on the violation. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. But the Gemara's question is, but this type of case is not similar to the poster boy case. And the general rule should be, in order to get lashes, it needs to be similar to the case of threshing. And the case of threshing, there was no positive commandment that preceded the violation. It's only a violation. Don't thresh, don't muzzle animal when it's threshing. Is there any positive commandment that came before that? No. So the Gemara's question is, the fact that there's a positive commandment that precedes this violation, so it seems that it's not similar to the case that should incur the penalty of lashes. So the Gemara's question is, why should there be lashes in a case that's not similar to the case of lashes? The case of lashes is when a person does a violation. Torah says don't do something, and he didn't follow what the Torah says. Torah says don't do this action, don't muzzle the animal when it threshes, and you didn't listen to the Torah. So what happened? There's lashes. But here, when there was a mitzvah aseh, in the case when the Torah gives us a mitzvah to do, a positive commandment, before the violation, so the Gemara is saying it's not similar to the case of lashes. And if it's not similar to the case of lashes, the Gemara is saying it should not be subject to lashes. That is the Gemara's question. Look at there's lashes. That's what there's lashes. There's no fixes. Right. But the Gemara's question here is the fact that the Torah gave a mitzvah, a positive commandment before this violation, should that make it a different type of case? And the fact that it's a different case, maybe the law should be different. That's what the Gemara is asking in its question. It's not a match. The case of threshing with a muzzle is a case when there's one violation going on. A case when there's a mitzvah to do, which is followed by a violation. It's not a similar type of case of just having a violation. And the Gemara in its question is saying, maybe in that type of case, there wouldn't be lashes because it's not matching the classic case of lashes. That's the Gemara's question. Someone wanted to say something? If you still
Not meaning that the faith community is based on le passé, you see the Makkos, you see Makkos only if you don't do it. If you see something you don't return it, maybe what
but we're going to see if a guy steals something and he doesn't return it, as long as he has the opportunity, there's going to be two opinions in the Gemara. One opinion is going to be, as long as you have the opportunity to return it, you don't get lashes, even if it's a year or 2 years later. The other opinion is going to say you have to return it right. Either you return it when they come to court, they tell you either you return it or you're going to get lashes. Well, we're going to see. He's going to start at the first. We're going to see. So that's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara says, Amalei. So he responds. So the rabbi responds to the question. Mishum de kosav beirachman aseyitera migra gara. Because if the Torah writes, not only the Torah writes, don't do this thing. The Torah gives you a positive commandment regarding this subject matter. Is that gonna take away from the violation? If the Torah says something, the Torah gave you not only regarding this commandment, the Torah says, I don't want you to do it. Torah tells you don't do this thing. So sometimes the Torah tells you something in a negative sense, don't do it. And then sometimes Torah tells it to you in a positive way. Let's say, what would be the example? Torah says, don't hide yourself when your friend loses an item. If you see something, Torah says, don't close your eyes. That's called a lo saseh. Don't hide yourself. Torah says, it's forbidden to hide yourself. I see your animal straying on the road. That's Nathan's beautiful ox. I got to go ahead and what? I can't close my eyes. And then the Torah says, I have to return it to Nathan. The Torah tells me a lo saseh, something what I shouldn't do about the situation. And it tells us what I shouldn't do, and it tells us what I should do, which are both directly connected. What did you say, Nathan? A Jew. If a Jew loses something, so the Torah tells us it's me two mitzvahs regarding this mitzvah. It gives me a mitzvah. It says, don't hide myself. That's a mitzvah. Don't close my eyes to my friends. That's a mitzvah. And now the Torah also says, return it. Mr. Mitesh, you want to say something? No. Okay. So the point is, now, what does that positive commandment, when the Torah gives, if the Torah writes about Shabbat, many times in the Torah, over 10 times, the Torah tells us don't violate the Shabbat. Don't do work on Shabbat. It's giving you a lot of strength to the violation. The more the Torah writes, don't do it. It's like a father says to the child, don't run across the street. Don't run across the street. Don't run across the street. They don't just tell him once, don't run across the street. Tell him many times, don't run across the street. Don't go into the gutter. So the emphasizing, you're strengthening the item. So the same thing when the Torah says, the Torah gives a mitzvah. And the Torah gives a mitzvah in a fashion of a lo saseh. Good morning. Don't violate. Don't do this. That's what the Torah said. Don't do work on Shabbat. And the Torah says, I want you to rest on Shabbat. There's two mitzvot. You get two mitzvot for the same. but resting is a mitzvah, but it's also by resting, you're not doing work. So you're accomplishing both by doing this resting. By not hiding your eyes from the lost item and you're returning the lost item, you are accomplishing the mitzvah of returning the item. So the fact that the Torah gives us a mitzvah aseh, a positive commandment, before it gives us the violation, does that make the violation any more reason why the violation should be removed from lashes? Does it make the violation weaker in some sort because there's some other, because the Torah gave you a mitzvah before the violation? So that's what the Gemara is saying now. The Gemara's response is the fact that there is a positive commandment before a negative commandment is not, even though it's not exactly similar to the poster case of threshing with a muzzle, which over there there's only a lo saseh. The Torah just says don't thresh with your animal, don't muzzle your animal when it's threshing. Now that the Torah gave us a positive commandment regarding a certain mitzvah, and then the Torah says a lo saseh, a negative commandment regarding the mitzvah. I gave you an example. Torah says return. Let's say, I'm not saying this is the order of the Torah, but let's use type of example. Return the lost animal of your friend. Don't close your eyes. So is that going to make this violation, if you close your eyes, more reason to not have lashes, because the Torah gave you not only something you shouldn't do, the Torah tells you what you should do. The Torah tells you what you should do about something doesn't make it less of a violation. On the contrary, by the fact that the Torah gave you a positive commandment on this item and a negative commandment, so to speak, something you should do and you shouldn't do, shows you the strength of this issue. It's not a reason to remove lashes. If the positive commandment came as a result of the negative commandment, when the Torah says, don't steal, and the Torah says, return what you stole, so then that's a fix. There the Torah is telling you, this is the fix of the violation. What did you say? Right. But I'm not, you're right, this case is not the great case because he didn't do an action to the case. But I'm saying about the concept, I'm just using the concept. If the Torah will say don't steal and you stole, and the Torah says don't steal, the Torah says, I want you to return it. So the Torah, the mitzvah aseh, the positive commandment is coming specifically to address the violation. But if the positive commandment is not coming to address the violation, the positive commandment, good morning, Jake, the positive commandment preceded the violation. That's not going to give more reason why there shouldn't be lashes on such a violation. On the contrary, there's a positive commandment regarding this thing and a negative commandment regarding this thing. So you have two things, you have two violations happening. You're violating this positive commandment, you're violating this negative commandment. So there's more reason to get lashes. That's what he said. Is that clear, everybody? Mr. Safdie, is that clear? Okay, so that's, what'd you say?
Closing your eyes and not helping.
The only reason why it's not a good example, I think, mainly is what Yaron says, because it's an inaction. If you close your eyes, you violate by you're doing nothing, and we won't give lashes for being inactive. But I'm using the case as an example that we could relate to as as a case where there is a Torah says don't do something, Torah says do something, but the fact that the Torah says to do something about it, it's not going to weaken in any way the violation. The fact that the Torah tells us two mitzvos regarding this law is shows you the strength of the violation, right? If I give you like the Gemara is going to talk about Kohanim. The Gemara is going to talk about the Kohanim. Maybe there's a mitzvah. Kohen can't contaminate himself. Then there's another mitzvah, let's say, that he has to remain, in a state of purity. Let's say if there's two mitzvahs. That shows you the strength. And I say anytime you have, let's say, you have the concept, when you have an assay, a positive commandment sometimes can knock out a los assay. When the Torah says don't do something. If there's two different things going head on, so to speak, let's say there's a mitzvah on a four-cornered garment to put on tzitzit. And then let's say if the garment is made out of shatnez, the garment has wool and linen, so that, let's say you can find such a concept that this mitzvah you can find such a concept that the mitzvah of tzitzit could override the wool tzitzit, and the garment is made out of linen. There could be a positive commandment to put tzitzit on this garment, and that will knock out the violation of wearing shatnez. The positive commandment has sometimes the power, when it's going head on, when it's attacking a lo saseh, the positive commandment could knock out a lo saseh. But a positive commandment can't knock out a lo saseh and an aseh. If you're taking on, if the opponent in the ring is not just a violation, a negative commandment, if you're going against something that has a negative commandment and a positive commandment, that is more strength than just having a negative commandment. And that's what the Gemara is saying over here. The Gemara is saying, we're on 15a3 on the right side. The Gemara is saying that the fact that a mitzvah contains both a lo saseh, what Torah says what you shouldn't do, when the Torah says about this what you need to do, if what you need to do regarding this subject precedes the violation, in no way weakens the violation. It's not coming as a response to the violation. Therefore, there's lashes, even though it doesn't mirror the classic case of lashes, which is the case of muzzling an animal when it's threshing. And there's only a lo saseh. It says don't muzzle the animal. So that's what we're up to in the Gemara. So the Gemara says, Ihachi. Again, the Gemara says, Amalei, Mishum the Kosev Rachmana Aseh Yetera Migra Gara. The Torah writes an extra aseh, an extra positive commandment regarding the item. Is that going to make this violation weaker? The violation, on the contrary, is stronger. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, if you're telling me that when the Torah says don't do something, and the Torah tells us about it in the negative, don't do it. And the Torah also tells us something regarding this item in the positive, do it. But do something which will be also, which is very similar to which adds another mitzvah to this case. Like I gave you the case. Don't close your eyes when you see your friend's item that's lost. Return it. So the Torah tells us don't do something about this item. And also Torah tells us what you need to do about this item. Two mitzvahs in this mitzvah of returning this item. So that makes it stronger. So the Gemara says, Ihachi, lav shenitek lasei nami. Why don't we say the same thing by when the Torah says don't do something, and the Torah follows up with a violation, with a positive commandment if post a violation. The Torah says, don't, let's say, leave it over to the morning, or don't leave the carbon over to the morning, or don't steal. And then the Torah says, I want you, if you stole, to return it. So the Gemara says, the fact that the Torah tells you two mitzvahs over here regarding this subject, Torah gave you two mitzvahs regarding this issue. One mitzvah, the Torah says, don't steal. And then Torah gave you another mitzvah. What's the other mitzvah? If you steal, you have to return it, right? Nisim, so the Torah gave us two mitzvahs regarding this matter. Is that going to weaken the violation of don't steal? Because the Torah tells you to return the item that you stole. Does that weaken the violation, the low session Torah says don't steal? So the Gemara's question now is, why is it that there's no lashes when a violation is followed by a positive commandment? We should say, that's the Gemara's answer. Very good. That's going to be the Gemara's answer. The Gemara in its question is saying, you just told me the fact that the Torah gives an extra commandment, an extra positive commandment, does not weaken in any way the violation. On the contrary, it shows you the strength of the violation. The Torah tells you not only a lo saseh, what you shouldn't do regarding the item. The Torah gave us a positive commandment regarding the mitzvah. That shows you the strength of the mitzvah. That the Torah gives multiple mitzvot regarding an item. That shows you how strong the issue is. Like I said about Shabbat, the Torah says you're not allowed to work on Shabbat. That's one violation. The Torah says it's one mitzvah. And the Torah says another mitzvah is to rest on Shabbat. It comes in the negative, so to speak, don't do work, and it comes in the positive, to rest. Multiple mitzvot gives you multiple, shows you the strength of the item. The Torah wants to reinforce the mitzvah and show you the strength of the mitzvah. It gives it to, tells you many mitzvot regarding this idea of Shabbat, of not doing work on Shabbat. So the Gemara says, Ihachi lav shenitek laseh, 3 lines from the bottom. Lav shenitek laseh nami lema, we should say, mishum the kosev rachman aseh yetera, because the Torah writes an extra aseh. The Torah writes an extra positive commandment regarding this lo saseh. Mikra gara, does that weaken the violation? The violation is still very strong. On the contrary, the Torah is so concerned about this sin, the Torah gives you another mitzvah regarding this item. So the Gemara says what Dr. Navid said. Amalei, hahu l'netukei lav hudata. The reason why there's no lashes by the case when it follows the violation is not because it's not similar to the case of the threshing. Maybe you could say, maybe there is reason to say there's no lashes when a positive commandment follows a negative commandment, is because it's not similar to the case of the threshing with a muzzle. Threshing with a muzzle, there's only one thing there in the Torah. Don't muzzle your animal when it's threshing. And there's lashes. That's what the Torah's case of lashes is. The source. The source of lashes is that case of don't thresh with your animal, don't muzzle your animal when it's threshing. So you might have thought, okay, if that's the case, so maybe if it follows with a mitzvah aseh, you're thinking maybe there's no lashes because it's not similar to the case of threshing, which only has a violation. That's not the reason. The reason is, the Gemara says, because it removes, the Torah is giving you a fix on the violation. The reason why when the Torah gives you a positive commandment post the violation, there's no lashes, is because that positive commandment is coming to fix the violation. Torah says, don't do this. Then the Torah says, by the way, if you do this, I want you to go ahead and do the following. So the Torah is telling us, this is what I want from you. That's the punishment, no lashes. That's if the Torah tells you a positive commandment post the violation. Because that's when the Torah is telling you, this is the punishment. Nisim, is it clear? The punishment for violating, for doing the sin, is to return it, to fix. That's the punishment. But when the Torah gives us a mitzvah aseh, a positive commandment, not following the fix, before the fix, even though it could apply after the fix, but it's not coming to address the violation, therefore there would be lashes. That's what he says. So Rabbi Yochanan changed his position because he had the case of the rape case. And the rape case showed him that there was a mitzvah that he understood. There was a mitzvah that preceded the violation, to marry the woman. And then there was a violation, don't divorce this woman that he raped. And then since the mitzvah that came before the divorce applies after the divorce, there's no lashes. So therefore he saw from that case of the rape case that he understood that if a positive commandment precedes a violation, as long as that positive commandment can apply post a violation, there's no lashes. That's what he saw from the rape case. And what did our Gemara say? And now, Dr. Levitt, this is the bring up to the next our Gemara now, the next line of the Gemara. Our Gemara said that the way Rabbi Yochanan originally held is that if it precedes the violation, it would get lashes, correct? The positive commandment preceding a violation would get lashes. So how do you explain the rape case? So he says the rape case, the Torah itself is addressing the violation. Because the Torah writes the word, he should marry her, kol yomav, all his days, and he shouldn't send her away. And the Gemara understands that the Torah, when it says all his days, he should remain married to her. If she wants, he should marry this woman. He should marry this woman if she wants to consent to marry this woman that man that raped her. Is talking about the Torah is going out of its way to tell you that he needs to marry her all the time, even after he divorces her. The Torah says, and that since the Torah is addressing if he divorces her, so the Torah is actually telling us the fix on the violation. It's specifically written for addressing if he violates the violation. What's the violation? He's not allowed to divorce her. This woman that he raped, there's 4 steps: the rape, marriage, no divorce her, and then marry her again. The Torah never wrote the word marry her again post to the violation. But he's saying, but the Torah, in a certain sense, it did write it. How did it write it? When it wrote the words kol yamav, that he's not allowed to send her away, and it says lo yuchal l'shalma kol yamav, that's referring that it's referring to the idea that he has to marry her and never and the sending away should not last, because he has to take her back again if he divorces her. So therefore, the Torah itself is writing this extra words kol yamav, this extra mitzvah that he has always to marry this woman, and that even that he divorces her, he has to marry again. So therefore, the Torah is actually telling us specifically, directly, the fix for the violation of divorcing this woman. And since the Torah is directly telling us the fix, therefore there is no lashes by the case of this rape case. Okay, so we're going to see, according to one opinion, he has his whole life to fix it up. And he wouldn't get lashes his whole life. Good morning, Mr. Ajmi. Say that again, Mr. Pradesh. He has to take. Right. That's a good question. He's not going to. I don't believe she's not going to have to marry him. And now the question, I would say not, because it could be that I wonder if any time she would change her mind. Meaning, if today she says she doesn't want to marry him, but let's say 3 months from now, she says she wants to marry him. So most probably that would be the fix. According to, at least we'll see. Anytime she's alive, there's opportunity that he can marry her. The question would be if she dies and he can't marry her. Then maybe there should be lashes there, because he has no opportunity to fix up the violation. Right. So let's see the Gemara. So the Gemara says 2 lines from the bottom. Hanicha lemandiama bitlo v'lo bitlo. The Gemara says this concept that we said a concept here. And this is a very broad concept that you could use all over Shas, everybody. So this is independent, Mr. Ajmi, you're here, you can use it all over. The idea of lav hanitik laseh, there's a concept that called, when the Torah says don't do something, and the Torah says, after the Torah says don't do something, the Torah tells us what you need to do to fix it up. Okay? So what do we say? We said there's no lashes if that's the case. The Torah says don't do something, and the Torah says, but if you do it, if you violate it, I want you to do A, I want you to do B. Don't do A. If you do A, I want you to do B. Right. Torah says, don't do this, don't steal. And the Torah says, if you stole, I give you a mitzvah to return. At which point is it considered the violation kicks in? At which point does lashes kick in? do we say that lashes will only kick in if somehow the item that he stole, or there's no possibility, for some reason, there's no possibility of ever returning the item or returning anything to this person? Let's say the guy dies and there's no heirs. Let's say he was a convert, and there's no one to return it to. Is that the only time lashes kick in? I mean, let's say, is the window, like Yaron, what we were talking about, does he have years and years to technically that he could, till the lashes will kick in? Because as long as he has the opportunity to return the item that he stole, he has the fix. That's the fix. There's no lashes. And the only time he would get lashes if that opportunity is gone. Let's say we gave the case, like Mr. Batesha, the woman died. He divorced this woman that he wasn't supposed to divorce, and now he has a myth he could take her back, but he can't take her back. She's dead. So then maybe then we would say, or she married another man in between. So maybe then we would say then he's subject to lashes. But until then, he's not subject to lashes. That's one approach. Then there's a different approach. The other approach is lashes kick in immediately. But we give him, the court gives him, he comes to court, and the court says to him, either you fix it now, or you get if you want to fix it, that will take off the punishment of the lashes. If you don't fix it, then you're going to get the lashes right now. Those are the two possible ways to understand this thing. Again, when the Torah says don't do something, and the Torah tells you after the Torah says don't do it, the Torah tells you the fix, what you need to do to fix it up. What's the window of that fix? Is it, as Jake uses the word, open-ended? Is it that it's open-ended, this fix, that you have a long window of time, as long as it's possible to fix it? Okay, if it's not possible to fix it, then then the lashes kick in. Or is it immediately there is a obligation of lashes, but there's a way to get off from the lashes. How do you get off the lashes? You do what the positive commandment is. And if you don't do the positive commandment, when we tell you, you're ready to do it, then we're going to give you a lash right away. So that's something that we're going to see tomorrow, how our Gemara seems to be taking one side of the coin. And that's what the Gemara is going to say, that it seems that what we said until now works only with one side, not the other side. And how are we going to address the other side? Stay tuned, everybody. Hey. Amen.
Version of marriage. Just take the lashes.
Yeah, but if he has the ability to marry her, he can't just take the. He won't be able to take the lashes. They can't give him the lashes.
Living with someone who you can't stand and not be
So
happy.
that we're not going to give him the opportunity to do lashes because we want to deter the guy from ever doing the rape. I presume that's behind it. If he knows if he does the rape, he's going to be stuck with her forever. He's not going to rape her. It's going to cost him, as Jaime said, a sentence for life. Big price to pay. It's important for the rest of his life. What will be the case? Let's say, guy is stolen. What will be the outfits? Because he didn't know something. That's the question.
I don't think.
Mason, so good to have you.
That,
Great day.
so it's not that it's what it is, the guy who is the one, somebody borrows money from a giver. And it doesn't return. And the
Good morning,
giver dies.
Charles. Well,
Somebody borrows money from the giver.
Yeah.
And then the giver dies before it's returned. Doesn't get Makkos.
it was no violation. It was not a violation. Here there was a violation. He did a violation, he stole.
The giver dying doesn't change the guy who stole. That's
Look, again, the same way if a lady gets married to someone else, my raping woman, as a divorce her, you say, because she married someone else, let's say, someone gets married, well, let's say she died. Well, it didn't wish it, right? What happened there? She died when didn't wish it. So what's the difference between she dying, with the wishes, and the giver died? Then tell me why she died, he has no way to fix it out. There's no way to remarry her. There's no way to return her. I'm suggesting, I mean, like, this is the question. So guy stole from the Gary, has no way to return it. So get the last say. Say he wasn't Mavakilit, but God knows Mavakilit.
so we're gonna give the guy Makkos for something that I showed him clearly didn't want to do.
Again, what happened if she, what happened,
I think it's different if so
if she
if
died?
he marries her and then he divorces her and then she dies. He married her, he fulfilled his first essay. And then he violated it. Then he violated the Los essay. Did he violate the Los essay by divorcing?
Yeah.
Okay, so he violated the Los essay and then essay. Right?
And then I said, I mean, because the Torah says to be married to her.
Yeah.
Married.
So I think it's different from David because he violated two.
What, we don't need to violate two in order to get lashes.
No, I'm saying by the case. The lashes comes for the second violation and the Mrs. Say comes for the first violation. Like neighbor, you're only one thing.
So why can't that be enough to create lashes? Why can't that be enough? Why can't one violation be enough to get lashes?
Because
We don't need
the
to.
Torah doesn't just give you the Torah doesn't just give you an essay to fix it. It also gives you what happens if you get caught without fixing it. It also gives you kefil. So if we say that he gets Makkos for not giving it back, then why wouldn't we say he gets kefil and Makkos when he gets caught? Kefel's not a fix.
But he's giving it
Kefel's not a
back.
fix, it's one-
No, but again, but the Torah is telling you he has to return it. That's the fix.
Right, no,
So
but I'm
that-
saying if he does